What's up, Gestalt Education Nation? Today's episode is brought to you by The Payday Practice and our good friends Jeff Langmaid and Jason Deach.
So how would Seth Godin, Gary Vee, and Tim Ferriss create a chiropractic practice? The answer is in this book right here. So our good friends Jeff Langmaid and Jason Deach, they created the Payday Practice to basically show you how you cover your monthly expenses in one day every month. Guaranteed. Generating monthly recurring revenue in your practice can create financial freedom, eliminate chronic financial stress, and turn the first day of each month from damn, it's time to start over to payday.
Get a free copy today at www.thepaydaypractice.com. The Payday Practice will show you the exact step-by-step process that you can use to generate monthly recurring revenue in your practice. Get your free copy today at www.thepaydaypractice.com.
All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of the Gestalt Education Show. Today we are in the newest addition to our favorite office in the country, Brett, Arise. And so,
well, our second favorite office.
That's true. Okay, Winchester Spine Sport, I understand. Other than ours, that was inherited. But the newest addition is this insane simulator. I mean, how freaking cool is this? So we thought this would be a perfect setting for our next guest. So we have the MobilityChick herself, Tracy Hayes. What an absolute pleasure to have you here. You and Brett have connected a lot recently because you're in the process of writing a book. You're in the process of basically explaining all the stuff that you wish you would have known with baseball in this book. And so I guess to start off with, Tracy, you're known for working with professional baseball. I mean, that is kind of your MO. How did it all happen? How did you get to the point that you are right now working with so many Major League Baseball players?
That's a great question. First, thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. Love connecting with Brett, however long it's been, and it's just evolved into really cool things. So I'm really happy to be here, and especially with the simulator.
Yeah,
I'm wondering, after do we get to play?
Absolutely.
You get to see my swing.
Before you walked in, we already played. It wasn't pretty.
I'm the queen of tangents, so I go on like 87 tangents, but they all eventually come back to the point that I was trying to tell. So hopefully, just reel me in if I start going off any of those.
Oh, we'll give you the buzzer. It'll be fine.
Honestly, I'm totally fine. If I get 3, then there's the eject seat, right? Okay, so working with pro baseball. So many years ago, I studied neuroscience and cognitive science. I worked with, had a wellness business and fitness business in Chicago, and then I ended up meeting a minor league baseball player who I ended up marrying, which is kind of funny. And I saw his off-season workouts, and at the time, and this is like 15, 16, however many years ago, it was just strength stuff, and there wasn't stability, there wasn't a ton of core, it was just machines and weights. And so I started working with him and kind of adapting his program in his off season. And then because I've lived, I'm considered a baseball wife, and I mean, like wicked low on the totem pole, retired minor league baseball wife, so very low on the totem pole. But there's definitely a lifestyle of what it's like to be a baseball wife, knowing what it's like for a guy to have am I allowed to swear on this one? A shitty game. And I just start whipping out a whole bunch of swears, right? Wow. And so living on the inside and seeing what it's like to see a guy struggle or see what it's like when he's doing well. Moving, I think we moved 40 times in 6 years, and just all of that kind of being on the inside, I have a better understanding of what it's like to live that life. And there isn't anybody who's lived it who does what I do, and everybody else, there's amazingly talented, but there is something to say about kind of being on the inside a little bit to understand also the privacy of the baseball life. So anyway, fast forward a bunch of years, COVID hits, I have 4 kids, and I have a really strong intuition. So I get little messages. So if you're on video, I get messages from over here. And then my yes place is over here. This is actually true. And my clients think so here's a tangent. So I do a 12-week off-season mobility series. And this is what kind of started me into working with a bunch of players and teams. And this year I'm doing live Zooms 1 day a week where I add supplementary exercises and drills, and then guys have an opportunity for me to check their form, check in, ask questions. and a couple new clients were on the Zoom this past week, and I just kind of, I forgot that they were new, and I just kind of went silent and kind of started looking off to the side, and oh, okay, yeah, okay. And they're looking at me smiling like, what the heck? You know, they're new clients, is she crazy? And they said, oh, I forgot to tell you, I very much work from my intuition, and I get messages. And over the past couple of years, I've really listened to what those messages are, and every single time I listen to the message and confirm with my yes place, and it always steers me not only right and well, but like unbelievably well. So I explained to these guys, and again, this is, again, tangent side number 47, I don't necessarily always know exactly what's going on with somebody, but as you know, as providers, you have the experience and the knowledge, but then your intuition is kind of what brings it all together. When I hear something, I might say, okay, I'm hearing this particular drill for you, and this particular drill for you, and they go off and do it. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm so much better. And it's just from, listening to these little messages. Anyway, so bringing it back to how I got into baseball, hopefully I answered that question. I don't even know. We're at the end of, 2 full days of DNS training, so my brain is pretty much fried right now.
It's soup for sure. So then how about, I mean, obviously you've lived it, working or marrying a minor league baseball player, and then you start having some of these players. Like how, I guess the question that all of our listeners ask Brett, they ask people like that, is how do you maintain that prestige, or how do you get more players? How do you work with the Major League Baseball player in general?
That's a great question. I feel like because I'm newer on the scene, it takes a lot, as you know, to get into, to have the trust of pro baseball. And I've honestly busted my ass more than I ever have in my entire life to show that I can help. I don't even know what your question just was.
Yeah, how do you continue to work with baseball?
Okay, great, thank you.
How do you get the buy-in?
Yeah.
What's the...
I pay them. I'm just like, can you just work with me, please? I beg a lot. What's interesting is it started out first with wives. So the wives always know better, as you know. And I just said, hey, I'm putting this program together with all of these different methodologies built in. I've seen it work. Do you guys want to, join in? And my first one was 3 years ago, and it was just a handful of guys. And I think like half of them are still back with me, which is really amazing. And they're all really great guys. So the buy-in, it's all word of mouth and social media, and basically guys who do the program. Like one of the guys who works here at Arise, Mason, one of my clients from a couple years ago messaged me last night and said, hey, there's a guy here, Mason. He was my trainer while I was doing your mobility series, and he recognized you. So I think last year, he was this client's trainer, this guy Mason, was writing programs around my mobility series. So the client of mine, it could integrate really well. And so now Mason has seen what the mobility is like, and guys, when they're doing it on, at the stadium and for warm-ups and whatnot, other guys see it and seeing the progress. I mean, I had stats run after the very first mobility series, and hopefully I can remember them. So we took the stats from the mobility series, or from the guy's 21 season after the mobility series, the first one, and here's what we saw. Guys were, I think their home run rate increased by 80%, lowered on average their ERA by 0.6 or something like that. Their K per 9 rate got better. 100% of guys, their home run rate increased, and it's something like doubled for some of them. And injury rates went down, a bunch of stuff.
Their breath smelled better. They made more money. I mean,
100%. So basically, having those stats to show that has kind of has like created some of that buy-in. That was a really long answer, kind of just like you just.
Perfect.
So what do you think? You kind of said originally that people were in the gym, baseball players were doing that model. So what do you think has also been like the missing link in treatment of the baseball player? Like why have you been on this crusade to change what is going on in Major League Baseball? I guess
that's a great question. It's almost like I queued you up for that one, right? Or teed you up, right? I feel like teams train mobility, they train strength, they train stability. What I don't think, at least what I've seen so far, is they're not they're not taking it back all the way to the fundamentals to really ensure a guy can even handle the loaded stuff that they're doing, number one. And number two is what I call no energy leaks through transitional movements. So to kind of bring it down a little more concisely, train the transitions. You can be really strong in point A of, even if we're talking about on-field performance, pitching, right? You could be really strong in the position A and really strong in position B, but what happens between A and B is crucial to what the output is going to be and what power and control and everything else, but also health of the player. So I see tons of people on social media where they're doing these really cool, amazing exercises, but I see just all these energy leaks happening when they're in between the movement. So I think what I believe is I haven't seen people training the transitions and training the no energy leaks through transitional movements, training the deep foundational stuff, like the super basic stuff that everyone assumes that these pro guys have. But in my experience, it's yours, I'm sure yours as well. You see, like, hold on a second. Before you even do this loaded exercise that's fancy over here, take it back like 27 steps and just show me you can do this particular position. So I think just really intentional awareness of deep foundation and stability, and then transitional work is, I think, what's lacking, at least in my opinion, observation. And that's what I do.
So you decided to write a book.
I decided to write a book.
So what made you decide to write a book? What's going to be encompassed in the book? And expand on that for us.
Question mark. All right. So earlier in this year, I have 4 kids. They're young. They play sports. And as we travel different cities, you see different teams and how they're doing the warm-ups. And I was seeing different warm-ups, and I kind of cringe in the stands. But I'm not a Karen. No offense to people who are named Karen, but I'm not one of those people who would get up out of the stand and say, I think that actually is going to hurt you. You should probably do this, this, or this. So instead of going to the coaches, I tweet the CEO of Little League one night in March or April, and it was like 8:30 p.m. or on a Thursday, and I said, hey, I've made it my mission to revamp the youth mobility standards, and let's start with Little League, because if there's going to be a change, it has to be a global, massive change, not just one Little League group here and one here. It has to be something just with an organization that has millions of people who want to help players. So I tweet and said what I did, and the next morning I woke up and there was a DM from the CEO of Little League, said, hey, I'm interested in what you've got. Great. So I thought, okay, I'm going to put this youth mobility warm-up together that's just a little bit upgraded to what they already have. And then as I was sitting there putting together the warm-up, I thought, you know what? I have this really amazing opportunity right now. I have the attention of the CEO of the largest organization, youth sports. There's actually some other standards that I feel like could be beneficial to add. So over the next 48 hours, I assembled a team of some of the best experts in certain key standards in baseball and put together a 25-page, research-backed, data-driven proposal to Steve Keener, Little League, of here's what I think. Not only mobility and warm-ups, but then coaches' standards and strength and headspace and resources for parents and a whole bunch. I think there were 9 standards.
Nutrition.
Yeah, I don't actually know if that's in there, but it is hugely important, and I could talk about that for a long time. Sleep, and so I put that together, sent it off, and as we were kind of just hanging out, I don't know what, Alan Jegger of J-Bands, he is on my little advisory board for the youth standards, and he said, hey, you should just put that in a book. Just slap on an intro, slap on a conclusion, boom, you got a book. All right, that sounds like a good idea. I'm not one of those people that can just do that. I have to, kind of like type A. So it's turned into an 8-month process of a book called Shit About Movement You Should Know. Tagline might be a holistic approach to improving on-field performance on or off the field, something like that. But it's definitely shit about movement you should know. And ironically or coincidentally, one of the authors is also in the room. I decided to make it a book, a contribution book, or a collaborative book. And the reason being is I feel like most parents and coaches don't have the understanding of most of the anatomical language and medical speak that you hear in pro baseball, that we have the luxury, I don't know, because we do the work, but we have the ability to have access to all of these amazing programs that the athletes are getting. Why can't we get it into youth? So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to write it in non-technical terms. That's why the title is Shit About Movement You Should Know. And as I was thinking about it, I wanted to make it accessible also for coaches and trainers and people who do know what they're talking about, but want to find a way to apply it with either their own clients, but also within youth. So I decided to bring on some really brilliant collaborators who could then do all the really smart talk. So I can just say, hey, if your shit's out of whack, here's some things that are going to be out of whack. Let me have Brett Winchester explain what's going on. So I don't know how many contributors there are, but maybe 5, I don't know, that touch on different points of shit about movement you should know that are going to be beneficial for everybody from youth, parents, coaches, to all the way up to pro and trainers and strength coaches and trainers in the gym. And even if you don't work with athletes, it's just, there's certain things, like I think one title or one chapter is called Shit That Makes Me Cringe. When I see forward head, absolutely makes me cringe. Or when somebody's doing a lift and they've got this, like little turtleneck and it goes forward. Just why doesn't anybody know how detrimental that is and just not to do it? So anyway, so the book is a collaborative effort where I bring in, he's snapping.
Yeah.
Don't say that part. Cut that out.
No, yeah.
Where you just learn about some things that are going to make you better and keep people, especially young people and athletes, healthier than they are. And I was going to go on a tangent.
No, that's
awesome. Perfect. Well, and then let's maybe expand on that. So, Brett, what is your contribution to the book? I mean, obviously, you're going to give DNS's perspective on baseball. So, what are some of the things that you're touching on, and what are the things that you think is important for this crusade?
I mean, obviously, one of the epidemic problems in baseball is obviously the UCL rupture, and which usually culminates in Tommy John surgery. So, that's what people want to hear about typically. So, part of my chapter deals with like the biomechanical flaws in pitching and throwing that we see. What we kind of think from a DNS perspective is basically leading to that injury. There is so much in DNS that would benefit, baseball. We talked literally for the last 2 days about the ipsilateral pattern that we utilize with hitting, throwing, and so I mean, I think I'm hitting on those points. I think if I had to pick one thing that I would love every professional baseball team to kind of grasp on that I think is just missing, is to truly understand what intra-abdominal pressure generation actually means, how to assess for it, how to treat it, how we train it, what it looks like in the rehab setting, the training room, what it looks like in the performance setting, and then what it looks like out on the, the batter's box or on the pitcher's mound. And I feel like and I mean, this has been a struggle of mine for a long time, is like just to get everybody on board, on what this exactly means and all those different facets of the baseball player. It's a big ask, but I think that's really important. And then there's so much, and oh, by the way, there's so many like magical DNS exercises like we've learned the last 2 days that like, I just feel like DNS at times is the best kept secret that no one really knows about. And it's like, I don't know why that is, but I mean, like, there's so many exercises that if you just took away, like, these 3 exercises for scapular stabilization, for example, it would change your career from a treatment standpoint. So, it's basically pages that are dealing with that. And then I think it's always understated, but a big principle of DNS is like being able to watch human movement and through a DNS lens see, what's wrong from a joint centration standpoint and know why that athlete is potentially susceptible to an injury.
It's beautiful. Yeah. Can I put you on the spot, Tracy?
Oh, crap. I'm sweating already. Okay, go for it.
You've had 2 days of DNS.
Yeah.
And is there anything that maybe, not necessarily just change your mind or anything like that, but something that maybe has sparked anything in the last 2 days that you're really kind of contemplating, or things that you're wanting to learn a little bit more about just from sitting through the last 2 days of DNS? As it relates to baseball.
As it relates to baseball.
Yeah.
What's really cool, first of all, I actually didn't know what Brett's chapter was about. and I, on purpose, so thanks for spoiling it, right? I just want to touch on that just for a second. A huge part of my book is living in your authenticity and kind of stepping out of your comfort zone and sharing your truths. So any of the contributing authors, I'm sure you remember, one of the things said, well, what do you want me to write about? And I said, I want to know if you could share one thing, anything, with an audience that maybe you haven't shared in the past, but you just wish they would know. And it's 100% authentic to you, that when you write it, it's coming from your yes place. That's what I want to know. So I didn't even know what you were going to write about. I mean, obviously, DNS would be, it's not like you're going to go write on cheerleading or something like that. Like, maybe, who knows? I know. I've seen some of these podcasts. But so I'm super excited to hear that is that actually what your chapter's about?
Yeah.
Shit.
Yep.
It's not going to fit. Sorry, you're out. Which I'm really excited
I didn't
about.
want to be a part of it anyways.
I know, you're like, yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that I'm excited to hear about it, because I'm just about done, and it really is. I already have the intro to your chapter, and that really is going to just fit right in really perfectly and seamlessly. So thank you for writing that.
Yeah, I think like in the professional baseball world, I mean, you have obviously PRI is a player, so we have our friends Ben Hagar and others, Andrew Hauser, who
he's also in the book.
Yeah, they definitely. I mean, we have a great relationship with them, so I think it's very healthy for all of us to hear different ideas and concepts from different systems, how it plugs into what we're doing, and then at the end of the day, like when we can integrate all these things together, usually everyone benefits from that. And I think that sounds like what the book is trying to capture. That's
what I'm hoping. And I, have training. I'm not an expert in any of the modalities. And honestly, as you know, the more you learn, the more you realize, shit, I know nothing, right? But I feel like the more I learn about different systems, they're all connected, as you know. There's pieces of all of them kind of explained in a different way. And it's kind of like if you pick up any of them, you're better off than not picking up, and then picking up nothing. And to answer your question, I feel like a lot of what I do, because it's based on, stabilizers and foundational stuff, what's been really cool this weekend is working, at 1 a.m. in my living room with, my intuition telling me to put my body in a particular position. I wonder if this does this. I wonder if this does that. I've had times where it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I do, like ER test on myself. I'm like in my pajamas. I'm like, I'll just film this so I don't forget it tomorrow. What's the head knocking? I don't sleep.
We were drinking wine out on the patio.
Right, yeah.
Did I
we all do our thing.
Oh.
I'm just messing
with it. Yeah. Honestly, people get texts from me like, I have probably texted you, and I don't realize what time it is because I don't sleep. I have 4 kids, and the only time to work is after they go to sleep. So it's like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm in my living room testing my range of motion, my shoulder, and I think, I wonder if I take this side plank and I kind of regress it a little, and I wonder if I, press through the floor and I do this, and what if I curl into here and I breathe? I wonder if it's going to change my range of motion. So I'll do the exercise, and then I test it. I'm like, holy shit, it actually changed. So then I'll go on Instagram at 2 o'clock in the morning. Hey, any clients, are you awake? If I send you a drill right now, will you test it for me? You have to video, this is what you do. And half a dozen guys, right? Yeah, I'm awake because they're in California, right?
They're baseball players.
Right?
They're playing Call of Duty or something like that.
So yeah, right? I'm surprised actually how many players play video games and whatnot. But anyway, digress. It's been exciting to me and kind of confirming for me to see some of the stuff that I've just come up with in the middle of the night, I'm seeing in DNS with slightly different approaches and principles that are integrated. Like, I don't even know the name of the one that we just did, the side, kind of the modified side plank one that you rotate.
Yeah.
That's the one that I have proof, but I've never really gone to see that drill before. It's just, okay, I wonder how creating expansion and compression, if I breathe into this and that. So today, when I saw it, I thought, wow, that's really cool. I have something like that. And it just makes me excited to see the stuff that I already have, because I do a lot of developmental kinesiology positions in my mobility series and with my clients, but not quite in the way that is the DNS way, and the 3-month positions and the 4 and all. I don't do that, but I'm excited to be able to integrate those, and I'm excited to see how it integrates and further strengthens what I'm already doing. Right. I do PRI, Lit. There's some FRC in there. I've published a Pilates manual years ago, so Pilates is a really huge basis, but not the pull your stomach, your belly button to the spine kind of Pilates, but more opposition and expansion and just amazingness, really.
Mobility, peripheral mobility.
Yeah, you say all the big words. I'll just say
What about, what's your end game? So if this whole movement that you're on, if this were all to continue to go in the direction that it's going, what is the thing that you're not really talking about? What is your what's the biggest goal that could possibly happen?
Not too long ago, 3 o'clock. It's funny. This actually happened on a day that I pulled up DNS. So I'm in North Carolina this summer, and on the beach with my kids, family vacation before school starts, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and I wake up. I'm like, what the frick am I going to do at 3 o'clock in the morning? Well, maybe I'll just do some drills. And, because I honestly really get good ideas in the middle of the night. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to pull up the DNS app. So I pull up the DNS app, and there was some exercise where you started to show us today, where you're kind of next to a table and you have a leg up and there's something going on. So
DNS hanging. DNS hanging.
Hanging? Not
hanging.
Hanging stance. Yeah, DNS hanging stance.
Yeah.
Oh, but it's not actually hanging, but you're standing next to a table?
Yep.
Okay, now I know what it is. All right, bookmark that. So I did that, and it was unbelievable to see how much it integrated that I wasn't integrating. And I'm already hyper aware of intentional movement and intention and awareness in your body. It's insane how much I'm not cue, but help clients understand their bodies to become aware. But the DNS was a whole other component of it. And that actually made me sleepy. So as I was going to sleep, I thought, you know what, as cool as it is and how grateful and humbled I am to have had the opportunity to work with as many players and teams that I have and coaches from teams, really, if I was being honest with myself, youth is really what's most important. And because I have little kids, those are the kids, that's what it's for. I feel like I have the pro experience and credibility, and I'm still new on the scene, and I recognize that. It's you got to earn your keep in a sense. I have that credibility to be able to give that trust to parents and younger coaches to change things. So my biggest goal is to really help youth. And that goes all the way up. Basically, anybody who's non-pro understand proper movement and proper stability and foundational movement patterns and efficient motor control and all of these really important fundamentals that need to happen. Because I think a lot of people, especially now, most of the younger clients that I see come in with ridiculously out of whack compensation pattern layered upon layer upon layer. And I think the parents and the coaches don't necessarily realize how terrible and detrimental it is and how it can really lead to really terrible outcomes, injury and surgery, but a kid, not being able to live up to his full potential because he had these limitations and these compensations that nobody knew about. Even thinking about all the stuff, the DNS patterns that we've learned so far this weekend, I think back to my kids, one kid started walking at 10. That's probably why he's got winged scapula and flared rib cage, and he has me as a mom. And so my big end goal, number one, I have one goal, is I wanted to have an ESPN feature. That's one goal, because you got to have some fun ones like that. But then the biggest goal is to create global change in the way youth and movement is happening right now, because it's got to happen somehow. And I feel like, and I'll get teary-eyed. I'm a what's the word? Empath. There's the word. Where I feel like there's lots of guys who are doing something like this, and there's men and women. But I feel like as a mama bear, I feel like people listen to Mama Bear. And if Mama Bear has the background and the credibility, I'm hoping that it actually drives change. So my biggest goal in it is to create that change within youth, so then when they get to us in the pros, we're not trying to undo all the shit from the last 20 years, because they already know how to do, proper half kneel and proper hinge, and, their head is in line, and they have the core stability, and we don't have to undo a bunch of shit, and it's going to keep kids healthier and happier and being able to live up to their potential and whatever that means for them. So that's my big goal.
Love it.
Well, I think we had a good example of that today in the course. We had a young baseball player. I don't remember how old he was. I don't know.
15 maybe?
15, yeah. Didn't have a pain, syndrome, no symptoms at all. You had asked him if he had any symptoms in the past. Nothing really. But we uncovered a lot of shit. A lot of shit. And so I think that's a great kind of tie-in of how we can utilize some of these things that you're talking about, Brett. We teach about all the time of just because your patients or your youth clients don't have symptoms doesn't mean you can't assess them really well and work on things that are really important.
That's exactly right. And the very awesome kid who came in today, to have 50 people staring at him, right? I give him a lot of credit, I gotta say, because there's no way I would have ever done that. But then, and I'm grateful that he did, but I gotta say, the majority of younger players I see like that. It's like out of my wheelhouse. They're so out of whack. I know I am not the person to be able to treat them. So that's actually, I think, ended up how I got connected to you and Andrew, is because I know when I can't do something and when it's out of my scope. So I've connected with people like you to take that on. So, yeah, not the majority. I've seen lots and lots, like we saw today, major shit out of whack. Mm-hmm. And my goal is to get everybody back in whack.
My goal is to, when somebody doesn't have pain, to be able to do a really good, honest assessment on the athlete or the patient. And not just with him, but with all of us, you can really learn a lot about somebody if you have the right objective criteria that you're looking for, right? And a lot of times by the time somebody is, by the time their shoulder, elbow's barking, a lot of times it's too late. So the hard part is to have the conviction to actually confront somebody on to address it. Just like if your car is running perfectly right now, you don't just rush off and have 3 people give you opinion and say, hey, I need someone else to tell me my car is still running fine. Usually people, it's just human nature. You wait for something to be wrong before you get attention. So I think one of the hardest things we all have to do is to be able to convince people that it is actually normal and okay to get assessed, to see what needs to be working on. And then on top of that, to then say the right things to get them bought in, because it's one thing if it's another thing to get the people around you that are also bought into what you're trying to do to them.
And maybe not use scare tactics to say that, hey, you're broken, you need fixing or anything like that,
no,
but convey it in a way that matters to the people, to say, hey, you used the word potential earlier, of you have potential lingering here, so let's work on those things. Let's see what's possible. I think that's one of your things of, let's see what's possible for chiropractors, but let's see what's possible for our patients as well. If we can work on these things, what's possible for maybe a mediocre teenager to turn into a major leaguer, or to turn into something great.
Well, I think you have your superstars, the people that you watch on TV in Major League Baseball. A lot of these kids, we also watch them in the Little League World Series. They just came out of the womb and they're on the path to be a great baseball player. There's another group of people that potentially could be the person that we saw today, or others that they just need a nudge. They need a nudge, maybe a small little change in their body. Maybe it's intra-abdominal pressure. Sometimes, honestly, it's just confidence. Baseball, whether it's hitting or pitching, it's all timing. So if one of us has the ability to look at something and say, hey, you're just a little bit off in this, component of your hitting or pitching, and then all of a sudden, it's like Sandy Koufax, for example. He was what we'd call a late bloomer. Eventually, something clicked in his brain, and then once it clicked, look out. So we're looking for this click point or this inflection point to where you have that moment. Some people never get it, but like sometimes like if you you could be the one that could do this for this athlete. I got a sneaky suspicion that most of us can be, you know, really good at something in our life or in our world if we want to be. Like if you just have the right direction, and a lot of times, unfortunately, people never find that in life. So like we can be there. We're talking about baseball now to see like, you know, if we put all our chips in here, like what's actually possible? Could you get a Division I scholarship? Can you play Major League Baseball? And there's another path to get there, and sometimes we can be responsible for that.
Yeah. You made me think of something while you were talking. What the heck was it? I know. Something about, so being able to present what's possible, right? To show that, hey, you may have some limitations or compensations or just some strategies that your body's really smart at finding a way to work with. So you may not have pains. You know, you're not gonna, because you don't have pain doesn't mean that there's nothing wrong.
Right.
And because at least in baseball, there's so much stress, repetitive stress, and I should like cut, rewind, try that again. Think my brain suddenly went into whatever. I can't speak right now. Let's try this again. Take 2. All right. So basically, if we could get kids sooner to just give them a couple tools, doesn't have to be this crazy full-on, adjustment of their entire lifestyle. Although I would love that because that would be amazing. And imagine what people could accomplish if they did have that 100% all in, really doing their drills and being mindful. Imagine what's possible. If we're going to work our way back from there, just an improvement in anything, and this is anything in life, really, an improvement in anything is an improvement of everything in your life. Everything levels up. If you level up in one thing in your life, everything else goes with it. So from athletes' perspective and movement and instability and compensations, if we could get a kid early and just give them a couple ideas of how to do it more efficiently and better and more structurally efficient, it sends them off on this completely different trajectory that could be the difference of them getting hurt or dropping out of sports or going on to get a D1 scholarship and getting signed. There are these amazing athletes that you see in the Little League World Series, and they go on. It's like, okay, you knew that kid was going to be in the big leagues, but not always, right? A lot of them aren't that. So if we could set up these kids to just not get injured, but how many kids actually would be good enough to get signed or get drafted, or get signed, draft, same thing, but I meant college, right? Go to college on a scholarship or play pro if they had the tools much earlier on, right? There's 2 train tracks.
I think too, the other problem I see right now in youth baseball, because my son's in youth baseball, is there is too many kids right now not enjoying baseball. Like baseball.
Don't get me started.
And one of our friends, Mike Matheny, he always said the problem with baseball right now is kids only play baseball with uniforms on. So like when I was a kid, we would go out, we would play hot box, we'd play wiffle ball, we'd make up games with a tennis racket, but we were just playing different variations of baseball. Now you do not see sandlot baseball anymore. What you see is kids on 3 travel teams, and because of that, it becomes such a pressure cooker that you look down in the dugout, you see 4 kids crying, and they're 8 years old. You see, we always call them dumbass dads, like screaming at a kid that
double D's.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what are we doing? What are we possibly doing?
Get me started here.
But honestly, if you're a kid and you have that experience, we've all been around kids.
Let's
I know, right? You're talking about youth baseball and that stuff. I'm like, okay, guns are coming out. Drink down.
Yeah, so that's a problem because a lot of kids, we deal with these athletes all the time. They get to high school, their parents have gone all in the sport, and they finally look at their parents and they're like, I'm done. I'm quitting.
Done.
Yeah,
I don't want to do it.
And the parents are like, well, we've invested all this. And it's just like in sports, I think we want everyone, like what I tell my kids, I just want you to understand the process to be good at something. But at the end of the day, your chance of being a professional athlete are 0. However, you got to understand what it takes to be a good athlete. And this is what he expects of you. But then I don't know. I feel like we are letting our youth down. Like some of the stuff that you see on a weekend at a baseball field is pure insanity. I mean, like.
Oh, as soon as you started talking about this, okay. So I 100% agree, and that is actually part of what was in my proposal to Little League. And it was I feel like, and so I know people who have travel teams, owners of organizations, and I very much respect them. They're good people. I feel like in all of youth sports, it has gone into this totally different model of youth sports than any kid would really probably want. And if you polled most of the kids in the dugout and on multiple travel teams and, just running themselves to the ground, would they prefer a pickup game or would they prefer this super stressful, hundreds of parents watching them? They, for sure, and I've actually done this, I've polled, and 100% of the kids said they would rather play the sandlot baseball. And so in the proposal, it was I won't talk about the proposal, but I'm going to talk about sandlot and youth sports for a little bit. A lot of it also has to do with, the coaching and the winning and what's appropriate and the stress on the kids. The kids already have so much stuff going on in their lives, in their school, and anxiety and everything over the past couple of years. Social media. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad we didn't grow up with social media. Yeah. I feel so sorry for kids. It is so tough. And then they go to play a sport that they're really excited about playing, and they're having coaches yell at them and yell out cues or directions while they're at bat, or they say what they did wrong in front of everybody.
Stay back.
Honestly, and I actually, just recently on Twitter, I put up something that nobody responded to, but whatever, hey, I said, just for the games this coming weekend, I want you to pick one kid, and for 60 seconds, just count how many things are getting shouted at him.
Keep your eye on the ball.
Honestly, do it. It's like 40 things. I actually counted.
The batter's box.
I had like one of those little clickers, and it was
close.
It was obnoxious. And think about these kids. They're young. They're not, from a brain and cognitive standpoint. If they're it's already bad enough that they're in front of all of their friends, and their parents and the family, and then the parents of their friends and the other team. That's already stress enough. To then add that with the yelling from the coaches and the need to win, it's so stressful. And I feel like, hey, I want to be part of that driving change that is bringing it back to the pickup games, because that's where the kids, in my opinion, Sonny, got a little sunny, your future's bright. That's where the kids are excelling, and that's where they're getting the things that they need. I read it while I was putting together the proposal for Little League. This is one thing that has kind of held me back for a long time. Tangent.
This is a tangent.
I'm not one of those people. Ding. Boom, boom, boom. I know, right? Time me. I got 60 seconds. Go. I am not one of those people who has really ever remembered really little details. I can hear them 1,000 times. I can do them 1,000 times. But if you were to go up in a debate, I would lose every time. But I think of things big picture, global. And because of that ability of where I don't remember things, I haven't done what I do now. But now, and I forgot what I was going to say, but I'll just keep talking and maybe I'll come back to it. Take a breath here, Tracy.
Everybody just calm down for a second.
No, chill out. We're going to ohm for a second.
We need a tranquilizer dart.
Am I having a stroke or do the lights start?
Right?
If you're not watching on the YouTube, I told Mickey towards the end here that we were going to put a golf course on, and I didn't realize the lights were going to come on, but we have a bet. So we have a 9-hole a bet here at the end that I've got to beat him in golf. And so anyway, just continue going.
So is this like closing time? Should we be singing The Lights Come On and kind of? Yes. All right. So I'll sum it up. Okay. Sum it up. Basically, we need to bring the youth sports back to more fun. It's the skill acquisition. Kids are going to pick it up when they're having fun, not when they're stressed out. It's not the right time in a game. And I could do long talks about youth baseball.
How about this? Let's make youth sports fun again.
Right, nice. Yeah, but true, right? But like, honestly, legitimately,
doesn't matter what we're playing.
We did a sandlot with my kids this this past summer. My kids had played, Little League and whatnot, and we said, no, you can't play organized sport, but we're going to do a pickup game. And there were like 50 or 60 kids who played, and I think all the parents I talked to said it was the most fun their kid has had in a youth baseball game in their entire youth, and they would choose that over the organized travel. Mm-hmm. And that should tell you something. And it was fun. The parents would get up to bat and hit, and the kids, back up. It's like, oh, Dad's up, back up. And then some of the dads were relentless.
Put it in his ear hole.
Oh my God. So, yeah.
I love it.
Tangent done.
All right. One last plug for the book. It's not published yet, but it's close.
Yep.
Where will we be able to find it? And can we put a hard date on you? I mean, come on.
Well, this is where I get to drop. I'm speaking at CatcherCon in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So I'm actually self-publishing because that was the quickest way. So most likely Amazon, my website. I don't really know what else. I have somebody who's
What's your website?
amplifiedmovement.com. Eventually, Shit About Movement will be up and we'll have the book that's registered. But I'm aiming to have the book done before I speak at this conference in a few weeks. So hopefully at least an e-version will be done very soon.
Beautiful. And then MobilityChick on Instagram and Twitter.
MobilityChick, yep. Follow me.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
You put some great content out there.
Appreciate
As I was
you.
prepping for this, yep, we were going through some awesome
Let's see what
stuff.
questions we can ask her. Scroll or Instagram.
DM her for Footbix, right? I mean, come on.
I think you also have a pipe dream of having like a provider network too, right? So to where you could. Yeah.
So there's a ton of baseball players, high level, that might be in a contract year who may have just some things, tweaks, stuff going on in their body, but they kind of don't want to tell their team, or they may not even want to tell their agent because that might impact what type of contract or trade or whatever, it might impact that. So I put together this thing called CCC, and it's either confidential care concierge or something like that. Those three words in some order, where you can come to me and I will keep your identity completely private, and I have a network of pro providers. They are all providers who have worked with every organizations, every sport, MLB, NFL, all that. And the person comes to me, says, hey, these are my issues, and then I reach out to my little secret provider network, and we provide concierge care. So it's out of pocket, doesn't go through insurance, nobody knows about it, identities are completely secret, and it will always be. I'm like a freaking vault. You won't be able to get any names out of me. Yeah. And my providers are ones who I very, very much trust, who will also provide the best level of care secretly, confidentially, to be able to have that client either return to play or just be better at whatever it is that he does. And I've got orthopedic surgeons, I've got trainers, chiropractors, physical therapists, from all pro sports. So yeah, that's something that I just launched.
Beautiful. I was obviously joking about the feet pics. Don't be a weirdo and DM her like other people. Come on. Like, that is insane.
It is disgusting.
Social media is just a dirt ball. Man, oh man. So anyway, Tracy, it's been great getting to know you. It's been great. Brett's told me some awesome things. I'm really excited for the book. I can't wait to read it. I'm going to skip his chapter because he's probably going to make me edit it anyway. So I'm going to skip that one. But the other ones I can't wait for. And keep trying to change the world. I mean, you are on an absolute crusade, and I can feel it here. And anything we could do to help you, we're here for it. So the last call is to go to I'm sorry, what's your website one more time?
amplifiedmovement.com.
amplifiedmovement.com.
If you just Google MobilityChick,
yep,
I come up.
Instagram, Twitter, follow her. She puts some great content out there, and I appreciate you being here and for being on the podcast.
I am so grateful to be a part of this. Thank you both for having me. It's been a great weekend, and I can't wait to do this again or see what's next. So thank you.
Mickey, let's go, boy. I'm going to whoop you.
Boom.
All right. Thank you, guys. Good luck with patience, and check this chick out. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Gestalt Education Show. If you liked it, share it, subscribe to it, send it to your friends, send it to someone that needs to hear this message. We really want everyone to be able to tune in and get the best clinical advice that they can, which we're hoping that we're giving to you with these special guests. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us, or if you have any suggestions on upcoming conversations, let us know. For a list of our upcoming courses, we're adding them all the dang time. So go to gestaltedu.com, click on courses, and they'll all be right there for you. All right, have a good day.